Hello, everyone. My name is Lisa. At least that's how I would have introduced myself to you had I met you as a kid on the playground. You see, my name, Rimi Chakraborty, is an Indian name. My family is from India, and I hated my name. I hated the way kids would make fun of it. I hated the way that they would mispronounce it. I was the only brown kid in my neighborhood. I was the only Indian in my neighborhood. And so I desperately wanted to fit in. And I said my name was Lisa. Now, later, when I got to middle school at age 12, I still wanted to fit in, as of course we all do. And my family life was falling apart. My family was going through a really messy divorce, and one of my parents fell into alcoholism, and there was a lot of time where I was simply calling and asking for attention in all the wrong ways. I ended up joining friends on the way to school at age 13 every morning, and we would smoke weed before class. So I was high my entire 8th grade year. I still managed to get straight A's, but I was nearly expelled for being a gang leader, if you can believe it, and also selling drugs to my classmates. Now, who would have thought that I would go on to graduate magna cum laude from an Ivy League university, and that I would then go on to go to MIT Sloan, one of the premier business schools in the world? This is why I'm telling you this story. Against all odds, I rewrote my story, and this is why I want to show up as my whole self to help inspire us to be our whole selves. Now, I went into the depths of my own darkness. This happened 25, 30 years ago, and this diving into my darkness, which wasn't easy, by the way, this has helped me to uncover my gems, the unique reason that I'm here and why I'm here and what I'm here to do. Now, as I mentioned, this happened a long time ago and it was really challenging, but being able to look into that rearview mirror and look back on that time with compassion and with understanding after a lot of processing, after a lot of understanding what I went through, has helped me to share this with you today. Now, for example, my name, which as I mentioned, I said was Lisa for a long time, turns out Chakraborty is the same root of the chakra system, which is what I'm writing my first book around, and it's the methodology for everything I teach. Chakraborty is also an Indian name that connects me to my lineage of Brahmin Indians who are the spiritual leaders of our the spiritual leaders of our community. And getting beyond this family trauma, as I mentioned, that divorce, haven't we all gone through difficult times with our family? For me, it was being able to speak with my parents today, who I love dearly and who I'm really grateful to have such a wonderful relationship with now. I've come to understand that they were in a really hard place at that time too. They were immigrants in a new country and they didn't have a support system. And understanding where they were and that they were doing the best that they could really helped me to see what was going on at that time in a greater perspective and from a greater perspective. I think most importantly, it helped me to give and understand compassion and have compassion for them and have forgiveness for them, as well as for myself, most importantly. Now, I even, when I was in middle school, I did attempt suicide, which was very hard for us all at the time, but getting beyond that time has taught me that I am not the image of who I am. I am not what happened to me or a victim of anything that happened to me. And this is a huge part of my teaching and going beyond ego. Ego and being our small selves, and understanding and having that firsthand experience of breaking down the walls of the images of who we think we are. And so stories connect us, and I hope that these stories and this sharing has inspired in you maybe some way to look back on something that you've experienced. And by the way, as I mentioned, this has taken a lot of work and a lot of time reflecting with help. I've done therapy. I've also done my own personal self-inquiry. And by the way, I want to give a huge shout out to Juliette Hahn, who has been a storytelling coach and helped to hold space for me to share a lot of this really big and heavy stuff in a way that's helped me to connect the dots as to where I've been and where I am and where I may be going. If you feel like this isn't, something you're ready to look back on yourself, I want you to know that that's completely okay. But I also want you to know that if you feel like you can relate to my story in any way, that you are not alone. So many of us go through these difficult times that we want to shove under the rug and just forget about. But when we're ready, if we're ready, we can go in, we can look deeper, and we can find these gems that really connect us to our whole selves. So I thank you for just listening, and also for those of you who joined in the last few days. I did this 2 truths and a lie as a fun way to lighten up some of the heavier stuff that I wanted to share. But really this share is about showing up as my whole self. Showing up in a way that helps us to use these social media outlets as a way to connect to each other and to show not just the everything's perfect side of ourselves that we often do. And so I hope this is helpful. And if you have any questions, please let me know. And if you want to share any bit of your story, please do leave a comment or message me privately. You're welcome to do so. I would love to read and hear from you. And I look forward to showing up here on these Mindful Mondays more often to share what I can, to be of service, to share a bit about my story, my journey. And no one has all the answers, no one is perfect, but if we can open up about what we're learning and where we're at, hopefully we can continue to evolve and help each other. So thank you so much for taking this time to be with me. Let me know if you have any questions.